What's up, all you beloved Chad nerds in the audience? As I mentioned last time, I wanted to cover the Tucker clips about alien nonsense, the faking aliens, because as you know, we have talked about the alien psyop since the first videos and interview. The second interview I ever did on this channel was actually with the Collins brothers on the alien psyop. And it's super terrible, poor quality, but it's about 10 years ago. And it still is somewhere on my channel. It's always hard to find those old buried interviews, right? But if you don't know, they, of course, eventually put their classic articles and more into a big old giant book called Invoking the Beyond, which is really good. And about the middle 300 pages or so is basically a book within a book committed to investigating the fake and Galian agenda. So it starts on about page 513. Ripped from heaven, invoking the beyond as extraterrestrial gods. And by invoking the beyond, they mean the engineering of any sort of external threat that Kant allowed the social elite, the social engineering elite, the technocrats to create via his rift between the phenomena and the noumena. So you'll notice the book is titled The Kantian Rift. The Kantian Rift, right? That's when I start spitting bars. The Kantian Rift, mythologized menaces and the quest for the new man. And of course, given that they devoted a good 300 pages to the alien mythos, they believe that the alien deception will play heavily into the coming technocratic order, which I think is very likely. And we could, who knows? I mean, 2024 is going to be buck wild lit. So we might see some aliens twerking in the front yard, in the backyard. Who knows? I did a whole song about it, by the way. Jamie, would you lovingly make me a double shot of espresso? I don't want no espresso. I would like an espresso, please. Do y'all got the espresso? So, as usual, I will do a sort of an overview. I got my notes here. I did have some really good notes from their book. Maybe I can find those old notes, because there's so much in there, but it's a 1,000-page book, first of all. So we'll try to hit some of the highlights. And this Saturday, yes, tomorrow, I'll be hosting Lord Voldemort. So be sure and tune in tomorrow for that. That'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to be talking about the alien psyop on a large crypto Twitter space on Saturday. So if you're free on Saturday, hop on over to my Twitter. It's on my feed. And I'll be in there with the Bart Bros, for those that created Bart Coin. The reptilian Biden Bart Coin, whatever that is. That meme coin, which is pretty funny, by the way. They asked me to come speak. I think they've had some other high-profile people in there speaking. So I'm going to be speaking to them on cryptos. I'm not cryptos, on the alien psyop. They just happen to be crypto bros. So we'll be talking about all that. Where is my note? I'm looking for my notes from the Collins Brothers book here, so I don't have to flip through all the pages, because there's a couple really interesting historical factoids that almost no one knows that they dug up through their immense research. So this is all serial killer stuff. That's not what I'm looking for. Laurel Canyon. No. It should be right here. Just give me 1 second. Chaos. Charles Manson. That's not what I'm looking for. And if I can't find it, oh, here it is. Here we go. Yes. So the Collins brothers have what I'm trying to say. It's the best book on this topic. Thank you. Really, it should be its own separate book, this whole alien section, right? Because they, much like the work we do, like, they integrate the pop culture engineering and programming about aliens and basically the idea of a space religion, right? I mean, the immanentizing of the eschaton basically allows for space itself to become the new beyond, like in Star Trek, right? And the other thing that the beyond religion of the unknown and of the untraversed millions of planets and galaxies, supposedly, that we're told are out there, is the idea that we were seeded on Earth via a panspermia mythos. The idea that the aliens at one time in the distant past put us here in Genesis to be some kind of vast experiment. And very famous people have believed in the panspermia mythos, right? I mean, you can go back and read, I think Watson, of Watson and Crick fame, he talks about the panspermia mythos. And the idea then is that we perhaps must find our long-lost alien creators or engineers. Hence, we get the Prometheus / Ridley Scott alien mythos, which has, I think, very much impacted and influenced the mass psyche in terms of how we're supposed to understand our space brothers, our space creators, our space saviors. So I don't think much of this has anything to do with actual science. So keep that in mind, that science fiction is a lot more powerful than actual science. And what most people think of as actual science is actually just propaganda, social engineering. I mean, actual science is engineers. Okay? It's not people speculating about what happened a billion years ago and our alien creators. It's not what Carl Sagan and Bill Nye and all those goons and goobers are up to. Real science is people that actually engineer things. Okay, that's real scientists in my view. They have a much more legitimate claim to being a scientist than these talking head, not Tucker, but the talking head people like, Neil deGrasse, McTyson, whatever his name is. And so many sci-fi fiction films have really settled in our subconscious that give us this long-term view, even from the point of us being kids, right? From the time of the 1940s and 50s, when they really started churning out these alien movies and these space conquest movies, where they start in about the late 40s, early 50s. And at that time, they were really pulp B movies, or pulp fiction B movies. They were not really considered legit movies. But the first one that really set the stage for this being mainstream was 20th Century Fox's production of The Day the Earth Stood Still. And that was 20th Century, I think it's 20th, right? Daryl Zanuck, I'm going from memory here, 20th Century Fox. And this was actually, they were actually working together with the OSS at that time. And they were helping to produce propaganda films. And the story is, if I remember in the Collins Brothers book, that C.D. Jackson, the famous CIA doctrinal warfare chief that came up with the doctrinal warfare program to use the Roman Catholic Church and other churches for the promotion of Americanism and soft power, he also consulted and had input on The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is this Christ-like alien mythos of the alien character that comes to Earth as a carpenter to save us from the other aliens that want to depopulate Earth. Klaatu, Barata, Nikto, this kind of stuff. All that kind of nonsense. All that kind of space nonsense. Space faking gay nonsense. But what that means is that from the very outset, the CIA had OSS, then CIA, had a pretty clear, direct role in furthering and fostering the alien mythos itself. In fact, the first abductee, as you guys know, George Adamski, had this elaborate tale of being taken up on a ship and buxom blonde Venusian women, just happens to be, like Marilyn Monroe looking Venusian women from the 1950s, right? Of course, in love with him, wanting to give him pleasures. And this is basically dude had a dang wet dream, right? And that was my alien abduction. And that became the first famous alien abduction story that helped promote and prompt this mythos. And amazingly, CIA Director Alan Dulles would step in and threaten to sue anybody who would challenge George Adamski's insane story. Can you believe that? Now, why on earth would CIA Director Alan Dulles care about defending and backing up this insane goober's ridiculous story? This old, I want to say a boomer, but I guess he's older than that, right? And by the way, it actually came out that the story is fake. The story is literally lifted from some stupid sci-fi novel. I mean, look at this dude. This dude looks like it looks like they just pulled him out of a damn bar, right? He looks like he's hanging out in Mayberry's jail with Otis, right? They just pulled him out of the damn Mayberry jail and said, hey, you're going to be our, alien abductee. And he's probably just some old drunk dude. Oh, yeah, all right. They took me up and there's a bunch of damn voluptuous, buxom blonde women on a Venusian spaceship. They showed me their tatas and told me that I was the chosen one. Right? The story was actually ridiculous, and it was a mixture of theosophy. Shocker. They always loved the power structure since the time of, right, the Fabian elites, Royal Society, Cliveden set. They love this theosophy narrative for whatever reason. And I think that's because Blavatsky seemed to be one of these key operatives of this, inner circle. And she was one of the go-betweens to the Soviets, right, between the Society of the Elect, a la Rothschild, and my mind went blank. I'm thinking about all this alien crap. Because the alien mythos fits very well with Blavatsky's theosophy stuff, right? So you'll find that a lot. And the Collins brothers talk about theosophy as well in the book. But I just went blank. The Diamond Mines front man for this secret society of the elect, you know what I'm talking about. Cecil Rhodes. I don't know why I went blank on Cecil Rhodes. I'm not in a robe and PJs. I am in a cozy cardigan that Jamie got me. And this is a Hawaiian shirt. It's not bedtime. I'm allowing you all to stay up late tonight. When it's not, you can stay past your curfew, boys and girls. Anyway, so as you know, we've done many streams on the history of theosophy, Blavatsky, and how they were really the central religious engineering outfit for British intelligence and the Fabian globalist elite structure out of London. And that's really the ethos behind the United Nations push for the Lucifer Trust. That's why that's all coming out of the UN. It's the same power structure. So they also love this alien jibber jabber because it always fits very well with this stuff. So you'll notice that's a very key indicator in the life of George Adamski. In 1970, he married Mary Shimbersky. They had no children. She died in 1954. Following this marriage, he moved west to Yellowstone. Hey, boo-boo. And working in an Oregon flour mill and a California concrete factory. In the 1920s, he became interested in the esoteric occult religion of theosophy and a variant called neo-theosophy. By 1930, Adamski was a minor figure in the California occult scene. And he was already interested in a personal mixture of Christianity with Eastern religions that he called universal progressive Christianity, the universal law. So he's now becoming a perfect fit for manipulation, either at the intelligence level or at the demonic level, and maybe both, right? He's a perfect candidate. And by the way, if you remember in Mirage Men, the counterintelligence guys talk about looking for people like this that they've psychologically profiled that can be disseminators of disinformation. And the disseminators are narcissistic idiot weirdos who actually believe that they're the chosen ones, right? So they're not actually, they're just out to lunch, right? So a lot of times they have these handler characters. So it looks like from the Collins Brothers book that Dulles perhaps was the handler to Adamski, because nobody else has except them have uncovered this interesting history of Dulles running point to sue anyone who would question this absolute lunatic. So 1930s, he created his own Royal Order of Tibet in Laguna Beach. Of course, he's in California, right, with all the other... I mean, California's just a test bed. It's basically a hotbed to grow a cult. And he creates the Temple of Scientific Philosophy. And he ordained himself as the head of this and the head philosopher at the temple, of course. The Royal Order of Tibet was given a government license to make wine for religious purposes during Prohibition. Interesting that he got the cheat. He got the government cheat rule, get out of jail free card. Now, what's interesting is that at the end of Prohibition in 1933, he also marked the decline of his winemaking business, as he later told two friends that he had to get into this flying saucer crap. Right? But remember, this is the first famous alien abduction guy. By the way, you can support the stream via Super Chats, via Streamlabs. The Streamlabs link is in the show description. And I did get 3 Super Chats from overnight. I'll read those here in a bit. Thank you guys for those Super Chats. So in 1940s, he and his wife become, and close friends, moved to a ranch near Palomar Mountain. And they dedicate their time to farming, philosophy, and religion. Blah, blah, blah. During a meteor shower, Adamski and some of his friends claimed that while they were at the Palomar Gardens campground, they saw the cigar-shaped mothership. I was trying to think of some P-Funk song lyrics right now. Right? It's the mothership. By the way, P-Funk did get all of their ethos from all the alien crap. So Adamski's like, all right, I'm going to start my own cult. I'm going to get into this UFO crap. So he's a grifter, obviously. Then he claims that he gets contacted and abducted by Othon. And Othon spoke to him telepathically. All right, and here's what it looks like. It's a damn vacuum cleaner. He claimed that this was the UFO. I mean, look at this stupid ass thing. Mystery Science Theater level. Anyway, he has this story being taken up on the Venusians. Here we go. In 1955, he wrote a book called Inside the Spaceships. And Othon arranged for him to be taken. I was pretty sure he was the one that talked about the space hotties. The buxom, breasty Venusians. Because, back in the 50s, it was all about boobs. You know what I mean? Everybody was a boob man back then. It was all about bustiness. Just busting out everywhere in the 50s and 40s and 50s. They didn't care about butts. All the women in the 40s had flat butts anyways. It was all about boobs, if you didn't know. Go watch a bunch of old movies. Women don't even think about butts. It's just boobs everywhere. Even to the point of having pointy boobs in the 1950s. I don't know why they had pointy boobs. Jamie, why would women wear bras that came to a point in the 1950s? What was the point of that? Huh? What was the point of women wearing pointed boob breast bras in the 1950s? So Jamie's answer is that's what was sold to them. Okay, but why were the social engineers wanting women to have cone breasts? Jamie doesn't know. Does the chat know? I mean, you watch old Marilyn Monroe movies, right, from like the 40s and 50s. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and by the way, how did women in the 1940s and 50s have flat butts, but now we're in the age of where women have round butts and big butts, like Sir Mix-a-Lot talked about. Yes, I know that it was the bra. I don't think that women's breasts were actually shaped in a pointed cone. Thank you very much. But I'm asking why they were... Like, I thought that in the 1950s, everybody's grandmother's breasts grew into a pyramid shape. No, I know that. I know that they don't. I'm not a child about biology. Anyway. So, shocker, George Adamski was a scam artist. But it was good enough to kick off the phenomenon. And then a host of other people followed suit. Betty and Barney Hill, also famous abductees. Betty and Barney Hill, I think, begin the alien cult mythos. We've done countless live streams on this. I don't want to rehearse all the alien history crap, right? But the Collins brothers do as well. So if you don't know about these things, you can definitely read their book, Invoking the Beyond, and you'll get a very in-depth, very super educated academic assessment of these things. And then we get alien-connected CIA operations like Operation Often, which had actually MK Ultra doctors involved, right? Maybe I should pull up Operation Often, because Gottlieb is involved in Operation Often. Is this it? So this is the toxic effects of certain drugs. This is, let me read. I'll read what the Collins brothers write about Often here. Quoting perennialist Charles Upton. It is Upton's contention that covert operatives who are also, I think this means servants of Satan. This is some sort of Sufi term. We're working behind the scenes to fool people into thinking that UFO question was a product of paranoia. Before bringing the gavel down in favor of such a conclusion, one should consider the story of Operation Often. Operation Often was the CIA operation that started in 1970 when Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, former chief of the agency's technical services branch, took over the new Office of Research and Development, the ORD. And this is quoting intelligence historian Gordon Thomas. Operation Often was the ORD's first project. With a $150,000 grant, it authorized then CIA Director Richard Helms to participate in the project Backwork, which was that it was based on Dr. Ewan Cameron's earlier research into the supernatural. So don't forget that Ewan Cameron was also interested in the occult and the esoteric and supernatural. The idea here was to, quote, this is Gottlieb, harness the forces of darkness and challenge the concept that the inner reaches of the mind are beyond reach. The project would aim to create a new kind of psycho-civilized human being. So here you have a connection between MK Ultra and the occult via Gottlieb's exploration of a psycho-civilized human being. You know what else it reminds me of? Remember Wyndham Earle? in Twin Peaks, when Wyndham Earle shows up, he gives this talk where he says that he wants to master the dark side of the occult, and that, and he's an FBI, he's the satanic FBI guy, Contra Agent Dale Cooper, and he says Coop is too wussy to go into the dark side. Remember that? This sounds literally like what Gottlieb was talking about. In the quest to create the new psycho-civilized human being, Operation Often participants began by visiting palmistry parlors, booths of fortune tellers at the fairgrounds, as well as well-appointed offices of psychics who tended to serve the rich and the powerful. Operation Often staff introduced themselves to New Age practitioners as the researchers involved in the Scientific Engineering Institute of Dr. Gottlieb. Working undercover, Operation Often participants were often able to convince the clairvoyants to become consultants, carrying out tasks for the CIA safe houses in Washington, D.C. This is crazy. Gordon Thomas describes the safe houses that within these walls, it became common sight to see long-bearded men in gypsy garb talking earnestly to preppy, gray-suited CIA behaviorists studying. So basically, the CIA is studying all this stuff to mind control and to social engineer is the point, right? And this is not new to us. We've covered this many times. CIA research into the occult. Gateway Project, right? Yeah. That's just one of many of these, right? Yeah, Huxley provides templates, but this ties it into the alien jibber-jabber. Operation Often also turned to studying astrology, employing 3 full-time professional astrologers to, quote, predict the future. These 3 eccentrics were paid $350 a week. Gordon Thomas gives a glimpse into the CIA astrologer's average workday. I'm going to skip past this because I'm looking for the alien crap. Many of these activities sound benign and even humorous. In 1972, however, Operation Often took a very dark turn, plunging into the study of demonology and the occult. When Operation Often shifted towards researching the devil, the Monsignor in charge of exorcism of the Catholic Archdiocese of New York was approached by Operation participants for assistance. So here, they're actually going to the Monsignor of the New York Roman Catholic Archdiocese. This is CIA Gottlieb-connected people. So they wanted to study exorcisms. According to Thomas, the Monsignor at that time refused to cooperate. Did he, though? When recruiting the Catholic exorcists failed, Operation Often then turned to Sybil Leek, the Houston-based sorceress who could cast spells with the help of her pet jackdaw called Hotfoot Jackson. Leek helped the CIA behaviorists navigate the America's occult or satanic landscape. So they're asking her to, like, hey, tell us about the realm of the satanic and the occult, and we want to go in for that and study that. Gottlieb wanted to weaponize the world of the satanic, they're saying, for the CIA. In order to do this, Dr. Gottlieb decided that the devil must be made respectable. In order to provide the devil with an air of respectability, the CIA doctor turned to an academic institution. Working through conduits, Dr. Gottlieb financed a course in sorcery at the University of South Carolina. By the way, universities still do this. We had a course on magic at my university back before I left. And I think Cotel, who was in the chat earlier, could speak to this too. Like, he was at his university, they pushed this stuff too. So that's not surprising. But it was probably surprising in the early 70s when this happened. It's probably the first time. 250 students enrolled in lessons about occult fertility and initiation rites at that time. William Bill Buckley, a veteran CIA officer, acted as special assistant to William Casey and bore witness to Operation Often's dark exploration into the world of Satanism. But remember, not only is this Buckley a devout Roman Catholic, he was amazed and disturbed by what he saw. So was William Casey, because William Casey was the CIA director during the time of John Paul II and when the trad cats were running the CIA back in the 80s. And of course, where does he come out of? Fordham University, because of course that's classic CIA university, Jesuit CIA school. That's why you have all these Jesuit CIA characters. And here's two more trad cats running CIA mind control operations. Supposedly devout Roman Catholics, however. Now, maybe this William Buckley. Now, wait a minute. Is that the Bill Buckley? I was thinking of a different Bill Buckley. Oh, it is that Bill Buckley. Oh, okay. So this is the William Buckley who basically did the CIA operation of taking over the conservative movement and making it into the libertarian movement. So, and by the way, some people argue that he was taken out. Which do y'all think Bill Buckley was taken out? Because I'm trying to remember what he did, something that made somebody in the establishment mad. And by the way, they did the same thing to William Colby too, right? So sometimes these trad cat CIA people end up getting offed because they know too much, or maybe they have some conscience, right? But something happened to Buckley, right, where he might have actually been assassinated after all his operations. Anyway, listen to this. Now, this is going to blow you away. It won't blow this audience away. This is going to tie in like the realm of the satanic and the Roman Catholic Church and the UFO crap. This is William Buckley, apparently. A mysterious and magical vortex in the agency, the CIA, was supposed to deal in facts and predictions based on them. That corner of the CIA, which is where Gottlieb had set up his work with the devil, was an inner black hole from which came the constant cries, "There's not a God. The cosmic deity is all," so pantheism. They would talk about Ouija boards, white witches, chaos magic, etc., and the whole place sounded like Halloween forever. These people were very intelligent. They were intelligent. They understood classical philosophy, but their sense was that their sense of what was real was a chasm away from mine. I would start to get papers that they had written to evaluate. They had titles like "Cripple and Confuse Your Enemy with Satan." So they're talking about how they were studying black ops. This is true because not too long after this, you have Michael Aquino writing how to use sorcery and black magic and psyops for the Army's psychological warfare division. How a pendulum can become a secret weapon in locating Soviet submarines. That's ridiculous. What astonished me was the vast majority of these Satanists were actually Roman Catholics. Did you hear that? The vast majority of the Satanists in the CIA at this time, according to none other than famous CIA operative William Buckley, he says we're actually Satanists. So I wonder what's going on. I wonder why there's so much PEDO stuff in the Roman Catholic Church. I wonder. It's the commies. Yeah, but behind the commies are actually the Satanists. Commies are actually Satanists, right? Yeah, so the story is that after Buckley was abducted, that they let him die in that scenario on purpose because he had done something. What was I reading? I was reading some CIA history book, and they were talking about how this happened because, oh, wait a minute. It was John Coleman. It's John Coleman's book. There's a chapter on Buckley in there. And he says that even though Buckley wasn't perfect, he was kind of an operative. That Buckley had done something to piss somebody off. I forget what it was. But if you have Committee of the 300, you can find that section. I remember that's where it was. But we know about this because I read all these books on Gladio. And, this basically from the time of Donovan to Helms to Colby to Buckley, Henry Cabot, all those characters are basically running all the same operations. And they're all neocons. And by the way, this structure is still powerful in the Roman Catholic Church. A lot of the normie conservatives of the Roman Catholic world, people like George Weigel and all these, they're all the CIA neocon elements of the Roman Catholic Church. And that's who was having consistent, not just him, but Kissinger, right? They were meeting with Paul VI, meeting with John Paul II, all throughout the Cold War. That's mainline history. Why? Because they were really utilizing John Paul II they even say this if you read the pro-CIA narratives like the Kohler book that we covered. They even talk about how, of course, we were using John Paul II. Oh, wait a minute. You were using John Paul II to win the Cold War, but I'm not supposed to think that the papacy is a tool of the CIA. Oh, okay, sure. Even though David Wimhoff wrote an 800-page book about it. Anyway, so Michael Aquino steps into the picture here after these characters. And it seems like Aquino plays a key role. The open Satanist, founder of the church, the Temple of Set, right? That's different from the Temple of Satan. Temple of Set split off of the Church of Satan, where they wanted to take it serious, supposedly. But you've got him working in these NICAP circles, which is another one of these fake front, like MUFON and NICAP are these obvious like cutout things, right, to promote alien jibber jabber. So remember, the establishment has been involved in the promotion and pushing of alien jibber jabber nonsense back to Roswell. Obviously that's a bunch of nonsense. Holding up freaking tinfoil. So the aliens traveled here light years in a piece of tinfoil, and it crashed because they ran out of gas. Yeah, okay, sure. And then fast forward all the way up until like the 1970s and 80s, and you can listen to interviews with Aquino where he talks about working in various MKUltra projects. He says, yeah, I worked in not just MKUltra projects, but also Spacecom. So he was working in what I guess becomes Spacecom as the founder of the Church of Satan, as the writer of the Army's Psychological Warfare Doctrine, Mind War to Psy-War. And I've also read his books on using sorcery and black magic and psyops too, by the way. He has a whole book on how to utilize Egyptian notions of sorcery in psychological warfare. That was what he was all about, and that's an example of what we're talking about, how the CIA was studying hardcore Satanism and the occult throughout this time period and how to weaponize and control it. And then in the 1980s, 90s, you get these groups like MUFON and NICAP. Remember, this is all boomer tier stuff, right? Like nobody in like that's all faded out, right? You don't have Zoomers or millennials. Nobody's interested in MUFON and NICAP. That's a bunch of boomer stuff. However, the alien mythos, UFO mythos, has returned. Because now in the last few years, as we said for the last 13 years, in the last few years, they have begun this push for the alien narrative, the alien mythology, the alien jibber jabber, to really push it on the public. So I think it functions as one of the cards that they can play. Do we know if they're going to throw down the alien card? Well, they've already been throwing it down at a level I've never seen before in the mainstream media. So remember, they had these Senate hearings and they had all these revelations and admissions of all this nonsense of non-biologics, which could be anything, like the guys on Avoiding Babylon said, that could be a squirrel, right? That could be the skeleton of a squirrel. I mean, it could be that old dried out Mexican cake dude that they claim they found in Mexico, right? Remember the aliens in Mexico? It looks like an old dried out cake. Hey, bro. You want some chorizo? It's ridiculous. I mean, this is so fake, right? Like, who would believe? By the way, this is just as fake as all the other ones, though. Like, everything in this whole domain is as fake as this. Show me the pictures of the damn... He's got a damn cake body. There we go. That looks like a piece of cake. That's just an old dried out Mexican cake, dude. Oh, no, bro. He's an alien, dude. It's barely an alien, but he's still an alien. You better get some people out here and bring some icing, bro. Because we barely got invaded. We barely got invaded with a cake, bro. This is a cake from outer space, man. Imagine believing this. But anyway. But at the same time, they had these deep state officials, these intelligence officials, intelligence operatives, going on the news, going on Senate congressional hearings, right? And did Tucker have one of these guys on? I don't even know. But if you've not seen Mirage Men, it really is the key to this whole thing. I did a whole breakdown of Mirage Men years ago. I've talked about it a million times. I'm actually tired of talking about it because I've talked about it so much. But if you want to understand the entire alien scenario outside of reading the Collins Brothers book, really you just need to watch Mirage Men. I mean, it will really show you the entire operation, like how the whole thing works. Mirage Men is a documentary about the alien phenomena that came out 9 years ago, 10 years ago. And they interview a lot of people from counterintelligence, most famously this character here, Richard Doty, who was involved in Air Force misinformation, disinformation, psyops. So he was actually the guy disseminating the disinfo to some of the older generation people that were duped. So you have this character in the 70s and 80s, this Moore figure. Then you get Linda Moulton Howe and other figures who bought into the gibberish that and they even have her in here. Look, we found human-like beings. So all of the stuff that Gorush or whatever his name is and all these characters are pushing, they've been saying they found alien bodies for like decades. There's absolutely nothing new. They're just recycling the propaganda and the psyops. And what bothers me is that this documentary actually explains everything. You can see how the whole psyop works from this documentary. And they keep pushing it because everybody's just completely stupid. I mean, it's like that's the only conclusion I can come to as to why people wouldn't be able to figure this out. Like, it's super obvious. I kind of want to play it, but I'm afraid it'll ding the copyright if I play.
What if we're their farm animals? What if they eat us psychically? I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities here that are not good.
The documentary just goes into how they ran the disinformation with certain people that they'd chosen to disseminate the disinfo to. It's a really good documentary. And it's sort of like, you're watching the documentary and it's like, obviously, right? Like, duh, you couldn't figure this out. They even talk about the people from Hollywood that they hired to come film some of their UFO videos to dupe their chosen people to be disinfo disseminators. Now, I did a video on this specifically on Mirage Men years ago, but of course it doesn't come up anymore. You can't find anything when you search for it. So, Maybe I'll try to find it and link it later. But let's see what Tucker has to say, because this I was interested in. Tying it to the Vatican. Now, this I didn't expect. Let's see what Tucker says.
I think I know the comment you're referring to. It was on Clayton Morris's, an old friend of mine called Clayton Morris's podcast, a great guy, really interested in this topic. And I said that there are things that I don't want to talk about. And I, as usual, didn't fully explain myself. If I had, verifiable facts about this phenomenon, I would immediately put them on the air, because I'm committed to that completely, because my whole life is about that. So I should have said more clearly, I can't be certain. This is just what I believe based on, talking to an awful lot of people about this, some of whom I trust a lot, some of whom I trust sort of. I mean, you're trying to piece it together from lots of different places, but no, these are my views, okay? They can't be proven, but I think they're informed views. The phenomenon is real. It's been recorded for thousands of years. We know that. There's something buzzing around us in the skies, but also under the oceans, we now know, and probably underground as well. So it's real. The government's lied about it a million different ways, probably for a million different reasons, for at least 80 years. That's also confirmed. They're lying about it now. Who knows what their motives are? And they're also trying to keep a lot of this stuff from being disclosed. That's true.
Yes.
So to those people, it's like, it's a psyop. Well, yeah, everything's a psyop. But I know for a dead certain fact, and it's provable, that, say, Mitch McConnell and Speaker Johnson and people and a couple committee chairmen who should all know better are trying to prevent the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023 from taking effect in a meaningful way. So they are trying to hide it still. That's a fact. My own view is that these are not aliens. There's no evidence that they've come from somewhere else. We would probably know. We've got a lot of technology that's watching what comes in and out of the atmosphere, and there's no evidence of that. I think they've been here forever. This is my view. Again, it can't be proven, but I'm just telling you, after a lot of conversations, I think it's likely that the U.S. government has had contact with these, direct contact, and over a period of years. I find that really disturbing, because and a bunch of other things that are highly distressing that I can't prove, and so I'm certainly not going to throw them out there. But I'll tell you this. I've talked to a lot of people about this, not because I've never been interested in UFOs until like 5 years ago, and I was like, wait, this is real. What is this? Why aren't we talking about this? I'm just like coming at it from a totally idiotic, I don't know anything, curious position, which is my normal posture on everything. And so I've talked to a lot of people, and my view is that this is my opinion, that there are things about this that are really disturbing. And while I hate any kind of government secrecy, and if I could prove any of this, I would say it immediately, consequences be damned, I do sort of understand why they don't want to let this stuff out. It's not about, we've got fragments of one of these crafts at a Lockheed, facility in California, and we have biologics from the craft. Everyone knows that that's likely true. Well, it's certainly true that they have the, pieces of this stuff.
Yep.
But I think it's likely that it's darker than that, and that the U.S. government is, I say the U.S. government, people in the U.S. government, not the U.S. government, but, there are parts of vast...
So this is where I disagree. Just because a bunch of government people claim that they have pieces of technology from crashed craft, that's the very thing that Doty says they've been recycling as misinformation to the dupes that they use to disseminate the the nonsense as well as the bodies. But I appreciate at least that Tucker is going in the direction of saying that there's something darker going on, so I want to see what he says.
Largest human organization in history, parts of it.
Oh, by the way, here's the old video I did analyzing, is it a video or just a talk? No, it's a video. Analyzing Mirage Men. So here's my take on Mirage Men and Bob Lazar. And I argue that Bob Lazar, by the way, is just another version of a more later iteration of the dupes. Because remember, in Mirage Men, Richard Doty will talk about how they profiled and chose people and the various things that they tell them. And although I can't say for sure that that's the case with Lazar, my thought is that he seems to fit the psychological profile that Doty talks about of who they choose. So if you're interested in that talk, you can go watch that. Here, shout out, we got a nice 1100. It's nice on a Thursday night. Let's see what Tucker says. Now this video says the Vatican, so that's the juicy part I'm looking for.
have knowledge that is very, very disturbing. And I personally strongly think, that there's a spiritual component to this that I don't understand and will not pretend to understand. But I think it's very clear that there's a spiritual component to this. That's one of the reasons the Vatican, and I'm not Catholic, but has been involved in this for over 100 years, has an observatory, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's pretty obvious that these are not men from Mars. I think that was a psyop, because I think the truth is a little bit wilder and has deeper implications just that.
So I think he's going the direction of it's demonic, which is right, and that's the direction that we've been pushing and arguing for so long. So I appreciate that, but that's not actually.
These things in.
I think I'm looking for the Goresh. Is this it?
That's my view. So, and again, it's not provable, but based on the evidence, I think.
I'm with you.
But if the U.S. government has in fact had direct contact with these beings, whatever they are, I've already told you what I think they are, and has entered into some sort of agreement with them, which is the claim of informed people, I would say, whether they're right or wrong, I can't say conclusively. But if that is true, I mean, it's a very, very, very heavy thing.
Yeah, a lot of people say interdimensional beings.
Right, I want to ask, are angels and demons, or how would you describe these beings?
These are, again, I'm getting into the realm of conjecture, so I just want to say that flat out.
Entity?
But one thing I know for a dead certain fact, having seen it, is that there is good and evil, that we are being acted upon at all times. And I think every person can feel that in himself. I mean, there are moments when you are moved to do things that are much better than you actually are, and that are also more evil and destructive than you actually are. You are subject to forces from outside yourself. That is absolutely true. Now, we can argue about what they are, but every person in the room, if he's reflective, will tell you, yes, I know what you're talking about. And so there are forces that are not human, that do exist in a spiritual realm of some kind, that we cannot see, and that when you think about it, sort of make you think we live in an ant farm.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. Why just call them demons? Like, just say it. Just say demons. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe he was trying to speak to normie audience or something, and he thought that he couldn't just go ahead and say demon. But there is I thought there was an interview.
Things are in the written.
As in you realize that.
I thought he had that Gorish guy on or something. Who is? I think he's. Let's see what he says here with this redacted dude.
The second thing that bothers me is the UFO story, and the more you dig into that and talk to people with actual knowledge of it, again, that's another story where there are some, fanciful ideas floating around that are just, there's no evidence that they're true. But if you talk to people who, have actual knowledge of it that they gathered themselves, there are parts of that story that I do not understand at all that are really, really, really dark. It's so dark that I, haven't told my wife about it. I mean, I haven't verified any of this, but this is not just stuff that I read on the internet. I know you all are very, very grounded in that story, so I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff there that's just like, man, I'm not even sure what that means. There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. And I think, last thing I'll say, that one of the reasons that we've had all these disclosures and all of these, 10 whistleblowers at this point, and it hasn't really become front page news. Part of it's suppression. Parts of the government don't want you to know about it, but part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out.
Yeah, again, I think he's going the right direction, talking about it being a dark demonic deception, basically, is what he's saying. But the idea that the government is suppressing these supposed whistleblowers, I disagree with that. I think that the whole narrative has always been pushed by the government via things like the MJ12 group. It's a new narrative. I covered in my second book the 1968 Brookings Institute report that Brookings Institute wrote up for NASA, whereby they said that if we could tell everybody about extraterrestrial life, which, again, to Tucker's credit, he doesn't think that they're extraterrestrial. Yeah, demons didn't come here from the planet, Zyrtec, right? Demons are terrestrial beings that are fallen angels. They're not from the Pleiades. But in my chapter on the movie Signs, I talked about the 1968 Brookings Institute report, which says that the discovery of alien life had the effect of destroying the biblical religion. Look at this right here. See that? Here I cite the 1968 report. In other words, they were studying the psyop element of aliens back in the 1950s and 60s. This is all planned out. The Christian religion, the report says, would be particularly compromised by the discovery of ET life, since it makes so much of the doctrine of the incarnation as a historical event, and of the knowledge of the good news of Jesus Christ, passion, ascension, and atonement. This would in fact be seen as irreconcilable with divine providence. That is the 1968 Brookings Report paper for NASA on what the effects, the social engineering societal effects would be when they announce alien life. And by the way, the same people talking about alien life, I don't mean the individual characters. I'm just saying the government's admission of there is something going on, and here's grainy videos from 1923, even though we have, everybody has 4K cameras everywhere in the world now. Here's a 240p picture of an alien craft on a freaking Chills video, right? Number 3, alien crafts. Are aliens among us? I hope that they are nice to us if they are here. Come on, seriously? We're supposed to believe the Navy videos of like a dot in a 140p image is going to be proved? I mean, it's really stupid, right? But it's not stupid if it's about psyops. It makes perfect sense, you see. At that point, it makes perfect sense. So anyway. And it's always the same, intelligence officials, right? These shady, unknown people that pop up. And remember, do you remember like 4 years ago, they were using the Blink 182 dude. The Blink 182 dude was the guy saying that I've talked to the generals. I've talked to the military. They chose me. Yeah, exactly. Like Richard Doty says they choose idiots, right? Tom Gooberface, what's his name? Tom DeShlong, remember him? I mean, y'all can't see through this. This is so dumb. They chose me, dude, to talk about aliens. Here. Is he still talking about this? This is like 3 years ago. Let's see what he says. Remember Tom DeShlong? Don't blink, you might miss the alien message. Who believes this? Now look, here you go. Here's your proof, right? Looks like a damn video game, right? So the military, the highest quality that the military has in terms of surveillance capabilities is a 144p Verizon flip phone.
There's
Look at that.
thousands of things besides this. You're not even anywhere near how big this iceberg is, seeing these things. These are unnerving waters. Like, this is not the only thing that exists.
Whoa, mind blown, dude. I mean, he was the front man of a pop punk band. He would definitely know about naval reconnaissance, right? I mean, shit. Why don't we just go to all the other pop punk bands? Can we ask Green Day about true metaphysical origins of humanity? Wouldn't Billy What's-His-Face surely knows. He's from freaking Green Day. Right? I mean, if we're going to ask pop punk frontmen the secrets of the universe and national security questions... I mean, let's just go all out and let's talk to, I don't know, who's some other, this is the worst genre ever. Let's might as well talk to Avril Lavigne, dude. She's pop punk, right? He was a skater boy. Avril, tell us. Are the Russians gonna cyber attack us? I mean, like, let's get. Avril, how do we combat the World Economic Forum and Klaus? I mean, we're gonna go to the pop punk front people because clearly they know what's up, right? I mean, you can't figure out why would the military choose this goofball to divulge.
Yeah, hello. My
A
name's
bunch
Tom
of alien
Malone. Most
nonsense.
people
This
know
is
me
so
as
dumb.
Founder of the popular rock and roll band called Blink-182. I started a company called To the Stars that eventually became To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. We are
Yeah, so you want to join his academy and go to space? I'll join Avril Lavigne's academy, right? I'm not, because this dude's kind of weird. Green Day dude, I don't trust him on national security issues. I'm just going to go with, I mean, is there any other pop punk people that I'm overlooking here that would be better for, being, look, we had Brzezinski, we had Kissinger. It's time to go to the pop punk bands. Actually, probably Avril Lavigne would be a better advisor, national security advisor than Billy, what is his name? Eddie. No, we don't want grunge. We got to go to pop punk. Okay, Pearl Jam is not grunge, y'all.
are literally the group that is
Literally
for why you read about UFOs in the papers today.
He is literally the group responsible, not the CIA pushing this narrative since the 1950s. No, it's this goofus and his pop punk band.
Without all the stigma. It's the first time that we had the videos properly declassified, and because of that, then we had
the videos that have been on YouTube for like since the beginning of YouTube. You got those declassified.
information as far as altitude
I've been watching grainy UFO videos since YouTube began, dude. What are you talking about?
and speed, eyes on target, different radar systems.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Different sensors that all corroborated what was happening. So that gave us the ability.
Yeah, people saying ask Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman is as credible, maybe more credible than these people. The Ramones, I don't know. They're kind of real punk. We're looking for pop punk, fake punk, right? I'm not hating on them. I'm just talking about how dumb it is to think that the leaders of pop punk bands are going to be the outlets from which we receive the most important revelations of our time, right? I mean, this is just so stupid.
To dissect these videos and really have an understanding of what was going on. I think this is going to cause our government and mankind to really wake the hell up and start looking at things that we never really even saw that was in front of our noses the whole time.
So aliens were in front of our noses the entire time. We just didn't see it. I mean, this is so stupid, right? So anyway, thank you. Yep. Good point. Mirageman is on YouTube if you want to watch the documentary. It used to be free. I don't know if it still is, but literally just watch Mirageman. It explains the whole thing. And why are you eating candy? I'm not eating candy, dude. You think I'm a little kid up here I'm going to get on a live stream and eat candy. It's a cough drop because I got Vaticoof. I still got throat aids from Francis. Francis tried to kiss me, blew me a kiss in the Vatican. I got throat aids ever since. All right, let's move on because we got some other fun topics I want to get to. So, I appreciate Tucker saying that it's a dark spiritual thing. I just don't agree that they found wrecked craft or alien bodies. That's a bunch of nonsense. Remember the alien autopsy on X-Files, like on Fox? Fox played the alien autopsy, and then it was so stupid that X-Files, which is a Fox show, even made fun of the alien autopsy. And then there was somebody trying to say, last time I did the interview with the Collins brothers, there was somebody trying to say that the alien autopsy was actually real. Have y'all seen it? All right, so I got to show you this because I played it last time, right? So the same people pushing all this nonsense now are actually still saying, they're trying to say this was real, right? And I remember in the 90s when this was on TV. It was like they wanted to make it into some big media event. The Fox alien autopsy is so stupid. It's a classic, though, if you've never seen it. I'll show you. We're only going to look at it for a minute. I'm not playing this whole 9-minute video. Just let me fast forward to it. We got these boomers over here talking about. By the way, he's what? Oh yeah, remember the funny part of this? So here's the clip. This is the actual Fox News, not Fox News, Fox TV Entertainment, right? This is their actual alien autopsy, and they blink out his private parts. Okay, so do you think that aliens actually have ding-dongs? I mean, how stupid is this? First of all, it's not human, but they bleep out his private parts. And what does he even have? An alien vajayjay? Look at, they're cutting him open. Yeah, right. Oh, he happens to look, there's nothing even down there. They're blinking out an alien vajayjay, and people thought this was a real autopsy. How stupid, right? Who are these? Like Terrence McKenna. Anyway, this is the actual alien autopsy clip from the 90s. This guy right here. And then this is the video. By the way, he got soy face. You ever notice the aliens like, they've always got soy face? Look at that. If that's a male alien, then I know the source of their rage, and it's that they ain't got no ding-dongs. But if that's a female alien, then I guess, is it impregnated? I love how people, by the way, just think how dumb it is to think about, oh, the alien just happens to have human-like biology, right? Yeah, I'm not joking. This is what Fox ran as if it was an alien autopsy. You can go watch it. But it looks like Macamé, exactly. But it was so funny and stupid even at the time that X-Files had an episode making fun of the alien autopsy. Which is a funny episode, by the way. So let's move on because Lord Voldemort shared this tweet, or this meme I put up. It's a truth-based meme. Micropeens from the planet Zyrtec. Here to get information on. By the way, if you suffer from alien micropeen syndrome, then you need to up your testosterone. And the way that you up your testosterone is by heading over to the show sponsor, chalk.com, baby. Let me tell you a little bit about it real quick.
Chad Mode is your ultimate natural pre-workout, designed to take your performance to the next level. Chad Mode is for natty beast alphas only. Whether you're hitting the gym, invading a favela, conquering a small village, gambling, burning the midnight oil, mogging on your coworkers, or getting banned from Facebook, Chad Mode gives you the competitive edge you need. It's as simple as mixing 1 or 2 scoops of our fine powder into water or juice, providing you with a delicious, energizing beverage featuring a burst of sweet, organic fruit flavor. Chad Mode will give you the extra edge you desperately crave. Chad Mode stands out from the crowd by excluding artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and dyes. We've even avoided so-called natural flavors, ensuring a clean and effective formula. Only soy boys and betas guzzle blue dye and sucralose, further tanking their already low testosterone levels. Chad Mode is made in America. Unlike your common TikTok peasant's pre-workout powder, it does not contain Chinese lab-made caffeine and artificial sweeteners that soy boys so often crave. Experience the pure goodness of Chad Mode with Blue Magic registered trademark organic blue spirulina extract, organic lemon, cherry, and organic maple crystals. Forget synthetic caffeine. Embrace the natural power of organic green coffee bean extract. Each dose of Chad Mode mirrors the caffeine kick of a cup and a half of coffee, delivering a surge of energy alongside essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and herbal extracts. Chad Mode will allow you to fire your boss and mog on anyone who opposes you. Chad Mode will give you a dominant and aggressive edge, like a lion hunting a gazelle, where the gazelle is a TikTok gym zoomer macro guzzling sucralose on the daily, edging to TNF videos. Whether you're seeking a high-potency, junk-free pre-workout or a better way to kickstart your day, Chad Mode has you covered. It's not just for men. Chad Mode is a solution for anyone ready to conquer their fitness and life goals, dominate their coworkers, and aggressively gamble their life savings. Don't miss out. Secure your supply of Chad Mode on TikTok Shop with a limited time massive discount. Elevate your workouts and supercharge your days. Chad Mode. Not for your average gym bro zoomer who guzzles synthetic blue dyes on the daily. Buy on the TikTok Shop now with a massive discount provided.
And listen, Chad Mode is not just for alpha bros, it's also for chickadees. So look, yes, it's a real product. Yes, it really has the dude. Yes, it tastes good. It's like basically Liquor-Made from the 80s, but for workout bros. Also, Tomcat Elite, my favorite, boost your testosterone with the Performance Stack, where you get all three of those products together, and you don't pay $134. You pay 50% off because they're the show sponsor, and they've been the show sponsor for 2 years, and they're awesome, and they're based in the Red Pill Company. Use the promo code J50, JAY50 to get 50% off. Now, go do that. Also, use the promo code J53LIFE, that's J53LIFE, for recurring subscriptions, and you don't have to keep putting that information back in there. Because I know you're going to want Chad Mode and all those other great Chalk products coming in the mail every month. Chalk.com. Link is in the show description. And I'll even put it in here for you, lazy boys and lazy girls. It is, shout out to Rachel Wilson, it is based, homeschool mom approved. Exactly. Chalk.com. Now, we have, every time you share a meme or anything like this, and then, of course, if Lord Voldemort retweets it out to 2 million people, you get in the replies 1 million goobers trying to fact check and trying to refute you. Actually, there weren't a million. There was only a couple, right? So some dude was like, "What's the source? What's the source?" Well, how about we just go to Tyson themselves and see what Tyson says about their upcoming partnership with Protix for sustainable protein production. So this is just a couple months ago. Tyson, one of the largest companies, has reached an agreement. The Protix, the leading global insect company. Strategic investment will support the growth of basically a bunch of fake bug protein, right? Oh, we're very excited. It's all going to be great. Now, are they putting it in there yet? We don't know. And that's why the point of the meme was to say, read the ingredients. The meme wasn't saying that everybody's food is bug food to all the nerd-ass know-it-alls. It just says, read the labels, because this is what you'll see. When you see Tenebrio molitor, that's just fancy Latin terminology for mealworms. When you see Locusta migratura, that's a dang grasshopper. Okay? So on and so forth. Why do people think eating bugs is bad? Bro, this isn't the chat for you, dude. If you're that low tier, low information voter. If you're that low information, bro, this is not the chat for you. Go eat your bugs, man. You and Klaus, go have a little picnic. Now, we were saying, back with Tristan, years ago, it's almost been, 2018 was our first podcast. And this is 2024, almost. So like 6 years ago, almost 6 years, me and Tristana, you know what I'm talking about, Primal Edge Hell, Tristan Haggard, we've done 1 million podcasts with him. By the way, tomorrow night, we'll be over on Tristan's channel, and we're going to be doing famous feminist movies, Mind Control, MK Ultra feminist movie, Stepford Wives. And we're going to talk about how Stepford Wives starts out making you think, oh, this is an MK Ultra movie. It's a mind control movie. And then it flips it into saying, oh no, the real mind control, the real MK Ultra is the patriarchy. So we're going to be critiquing that tomorrow night over on Tristan's channel. Don't miss it. We'll talk about both the original and the bad Ferris Bueller, Nicole Kidman version. We'll talk about both. But I want to talk about this discussion that Alex Newman from over at the New American. I met Alex back in January. He's a nice guy. We haven't really had any podcasts or interactions, but I met him in person at an event. We got to talk for a few minutes, and he was a very cool guy. Here's Alex discussing this attack vector of putting insects and chitin and other versions of insects into the food supply. Now, for those that don't know, I was on Tucker's last special before he got fired. So the last Tucker original was about eating the bugs, and it was me and Ava Vlandevern, right? It was me and her on that Tucker special. The first 10 minutes was me. The next part of it was her. And the whole thing was about Eat the Bugs, which, by the way, is available. You can go find it if you're savvy on the internet. So even though Fox, I think, owns it, you can find it. So, and by the way, I was dressed up as Klaus. If you've never seen it, you should go watch it. So let's listen to a little bit of what Alex Newman is saying, because he pointed this out. This is actually an old talk. I think Alex did this talk a while back. It doesn't say the exact date, but listen to this.
This report, this came out in 2013. Nobody ever reads these things. But he said, this is important. You have to read this. So I read it and ended up writing an article about it. It was published in May of 2016. UN let them eat bugs. Kind of the Marie Antoinette. I don't know that she really said that. A lot of people say she didn't. But the report was about how they're going to make us eat bugs. How meat and chicken and traditional agriculture were not sustainable. And the food of the future was going to have to be creepy crawlers. And they actually have a big section in the report about, those Westerners, they're pretty picky with their food. They're not really going to want to eat bugs. We're going to have a major propaganda campaign. We'll use state-funded media, and we'll use government indoctrination centers masquerading as schools to get them used to the idea of eating.
Now, remember, this has not gone away. It's not going away, right? After the Klaus memes that were going on for the last several years, and after everybody kind of making fun of Eat the Bugs, they kind of stepped back and got real quiet about eating bugs. And then all the low-tier normies, we beat them. All the boomers were like, we beat that back. Victory. They're not going away. This isn't going to, they're going to sneak it into the food, dummies. And then they're just going to come back in the next few years and push it again as sustainable green climate development stuff. So it's under the cloak of the green crap, right? It's not going away. They are still pushing to kill vast amounts of cattle and to end farming. Do you understand? It's an austerity Club of Rome agenda to end farming in many countries, especially in Europe. They just talked about killing 100,000 plus cattle in Ireland because cattle toot, and that destroys the ozone layer. But ultimately, this is a technocratic control agenda. And Tristan said 6 years ago that the next big thing would be the attack on the diet, trying to convert everybody over to vegetarian, vegan, and bug-based diets.
Bugs. And so I reported all this over 10 years ago. And then along comes Joe Biden.
With regard to food shortages, yes, we did so talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real.
It's going to be real, right? So, a lot of people think, I'm not going to eat bugs. That's crazy, right? And Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum in their little video, they said by 2030, you're going to have to eat a lot less meat to save the planet. So how are they going to get people to eat bugs? Well, a combination of propaganda, indoctrinating children, and making you very, very hungry. And what you'll find as you look at these policies is every single one of the national and state and local policies traces directly back to various UN and World Economic programs, World Economic Forum programs like Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 was signed by every national government in the world in 2015 on behalf of the United States. Barack Obama called it an executive agreement. And it's a plan to totally transform every element of our lives. In fact, the head of the UN General Assembly at the time called it the Master Plan for Humanity. And if you read the preface, it says over and over.
Now, for those of you that don't know or don't remember, I have lectured through about 50 to 60 writings of the global elite, and at least 3, maybe 5 of them include significant sections and chapters on the attack vector via the diet. So keep in mind, this is in Charles Galton Darwin's book, Next Million Years, his whole chapter on diet. It's in Bertrand Russell's works, entire chapters on diet. It's in H.G. Wells talks about it. And I'm sure it's talked about by Friedhof Capra and other people too. So this is not out of nowhere. I mean, we literally read these books and lecture through them over here on this channel. The people that set the agenda and the policy for where we're going in the future. And this didn't come out of nowhere with Klaus. Klaus was put into that role by Kissinger through the Harvard Project. And that's the CIA's project to set up entities and steering groups like Bilderberg. So that's where the WEF and Davos comes from. It's just one of many. So I hope you understand that this is not like, this is in their writings. These are actual UN programs, actual UN texts. It's not a theory.
Again, no one will be left behind. And so a big part of this, as you read it, and I tie all the points back to that, is you got to transform agriculture, you got to transform the food supply, you got to transform every element of life. And so in keeping with that UN report on using government propaganda, here's the World Economic Forum promoting insect farming. As we speak, they're actually building the largest insect protein manufacturing facility in the world in Decatur, Illinois. So the World Economic Forum thinks you need to eat the bugs. And here is the government-funded propaganda outlet known as PBS.
The future of food is being revolutionized by science, as new research helps bring unexpected ingredients to the table.
It kind of tastes like shrimp. They have this seafood quality to them.
It reminds you of like a Frito or a chip.
Just a Frito or a chip, okay? So it's crazy talk, right? And so this actually comes from my home state of Florida. Everybody thinks our government schools in Florida are great. They're not. But this was sent to me by the parent of a concerned 5th grader. She was told that she had to do these workshops, and bugs are the food of the future. And she said, actually in the class, they told the kids that eating meat is bad for the planet. Your parents are bad for wanting to eat steak all the time. They say, here's the list of how much CO2 emissions, right? Crickets, you get 47.47 kilos of crickets.
In 1952, Charles Galton Darwin, in his book, The Next Million Years, has an entire section on the synthetic, non-meat foods that you will eat in the future by design. And then he goes on to say that through controlled crises and controlled shortages, the competition for resources will lead to a crying out for global governance. And there's again an entire chapter on diet. There's an entire chapter on saying that humans are the problem causing the climate chaos. On page 60, he says that overpopulation, man's influence on geography is negligible. On the other hand, it is direct. His indirect influence on geography is more considerable since he has made perceptible changes in the climate by felling of the forests. So at that time, they were saying that climate change is happening because you're deforestation, right? But Bill Gates now says that in order to combat CO2s, we must deforest. We must get rid of trees. And we played that video a few weeks ago. Remember that? Oh, we got to get rid of the trees. You want to get the numbers down.
Per ounces of CO2, whatever. And you see that apparently bugs are really, really sustainable. The government knows quite a bit about eating bugs. Turns out it's very, very unhealthy. I pulled these right out of the National Library of Medicine 2017 study funded by the government. Said that the chitin in bugs, the exoskeletons, will provoke human innate immunity to generate a deluge of inflammatory cytokines which injure organs.
Chitin or chitin is what he's talking about, which is like their exoskeleton, which is not good for you.
And in persistent situations lead to death, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus, and cancer. Sign me up, right? So the goal, folks, is not to save the planet. It's not to save the climate. Like the revolutionaries used to say back in the 60s, the Students for a Democratic Society, the issue is never the issue. It's not about global warming. It's not about sustainable development. It's about enslaving humanity. They want to wipe out small, medium-sized producers, centralize food control in the hands of mega corporations in bed with the mega governments. They want to move the population into the
major cities, exactly. All the stuff we talk about. And that's why the same goons all say the same things at the World Economic Forum. Here is Jane Goodall, gorillas in the mama gorilla in the mist.
Less meat. We need to stop land being used for cattle and growing grain for the billions of animals that we keep in our intensive farms. And then finally, we cannot hide away from human population growth, because it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Interesting how they always say the same things, don't they? What about this one? Let's see what this beloved man here says. Actually, let me find this clip on YouTube so that I don't get in trouble. This one was funny. I kind of laughed when he said this, right? Because nobody's seen this dude in forever. Where's he been, right? And then he just suddenly pops up the other day. Is it this one? Is this one in it? On CNN? Yeah, let's see this up.
Welcome back to CNN State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. World leaders finally addressed the elephant in the room this month when it comes to climate change.
Finally.
Of fossil fuels, that is the primary cause of our warming planet.
Yeah, by the way, oil isn't ground up dinosaurs. It's not fossil fuel. It's not dinosaur juice. And the mainstream normies still call it a fossil fuel, even though it makes absolutely no sense.
And former Vice President Al Gore has been warning the world about fossil fuels for more than 20 years, and he is still working on the issue. He runs a nonprofit devoted to solving the climate crisis and somehow looking to the future with hope that maybe human beings can change.
And joining me now is former Vice President Al Gore. Vice President Gore, thanks so much for joining us. So, Mr. Vice President, 2023, officially the hottest year on record, deadly heat waves, catastrophic floods, devastating wildfires, more powerful storms. We've gotten dangerously close to the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, beyond which experts say humanity and the planet will struggle to adapt. What do you think 2024 will look like?
Well, we still have the ability to seize control of our destiny. Here's the good news, Jake. If we stop adding to the overburden of these greenhouse gas pollutants in the sky, if we reach what they call true net zero and stop adding to the heat trapping capacity.
By the way, for those that don't know, net zero also means you don't have more offspring. That you're part of that zero. Namely, ZPG, zero population growth, is also part of this scenario. There's a funny line, though, where he talks about we're going to have 1 billion refugees or something like that. And guess, so the refugees, this is what they're saying. You can't make this up. So the border is basically not there, right? And a lot of people are coming to this country, to America. And Al Gore is going to say, that's because of climate. What?
Up there, the temperatures will stop going up right away. And if we stay at true net zero, half of the human-caused greenhouse pollution will fall out of the atmosphere in as little as 25 to 30 years. We have the ability to do this, and it's not impractical because we now have the cheapest new source of energy in the history of the world with solar electricity and wind electricity, and the electric vehicles reached 20% of sales globally this year. The batteries are now, we had one gigafactory several years ago. Now there are 200 and another 400 being built. You know, a long time ago, one of the Saudi Arabian oil ministers said, we better remember the Stone Age didn't end because of a shortage of stones. It ended because something better came along. We've got something better now. We can do this if we just...
Dude, that was the most boomer tier, like cliche attempt at being down home, wholesome, you know what I mean, like jokester. I mean, who else watches this channel but like just out to just totally like the only people that watch CNN are like boomers that take like 17 pills per day, you know, like they got like a whole shelf lining the window and it's all their meds. So they take like 20 meds in a day. That's the only people left watching this thing.
Overcome the greed and political power of the big fossil fuel polluters who've been trying to control this
The greed
process.
and the political power. It's not even he's from Tennessee, I'm sad to say. The greed and the political power.
It's time for people at the grassroots level in every country to speak
It is
up.
time for the great. Like how real did that seem? I mean, does anybody? This is like the fakest thing ever. Like who actually believes this guy? This is such a con man, dude. Like imagine still believing this stuff.
News is that's happening too.
We are.
Fix this. What needs to happen?
Well, we need to break through this blockade that the fossil fuel industry and the big petro states have been using to block progress. We also need to reform this UN process because it requires what they call
the big petro company. Dude, it's the big oil companies that run the whole sustainable climate stuff. They're the ones that fund it. So he's just relying on everybody being stupid and not knowing that, right? Like the grassroots, like Extinction Rebellion people, right, that actually believe this stuff.
Consensus now, which is similar to requiring it to be unanimous if the president of the COP decides that they don't see any objections, then he declares there's a consensus. And that's why it's so important that that person who's in charge of the process agency says that we need a sufficient political will. But as many pointed out, political will is itself a renewable resource. And these young people...
I'm trying to find where he talks about the refugees. That part was funny.
But as many pointed out, political will is itself a renewable resource. And these young people around the world are helping the world to renew it.
So that's the good news.
Oh, he speaks for the youth. See? He's a friendly boomer who understands the struggle of the youth and the Extinction Rebellion people who basically say that humans need to go away. So he's a good guy. See, he's like he's like an uncle or something. He's like a happy, loving uncle.
It's the good vision. But what happens if the world doesn't act? What's the worst case scenario?
Here we go. Here's our climate refugees.
Well, the scientists who warned us of these mega storms and the floods and mudslides and droughts and the scientists and the sea level rise, and the storms getting stronger and the
scientists and the gout and the grout and the scientists.
Tropical diseases and climate migrants crossing international borders in larger numbers. They were dead right when they...
The climate migrants, they were dead. The climate migrants. So we live in different worlds. You know, the people, like anyone who actually believes that is in a totally different reality than what we inhabit. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that weird to think about? Totally different, and basically divorced from reality. An inconvenient boomer, exactly. So there you go. All right, what did I want to get to next? If you don't follow Camus, by the way, on Twitter, he's a good profile to follow. He's always posting really good clips of Klaus and company, World Economic Forum and all this kind of stuff, right? So you can follow Camus, but I see that CBDCs are trending. Now remember, they tried already to say, oh, we need to push the CBDC. And that also failed for the meantime, because that was something they were trying to tie into the COOF. Remember that? Oh, well, you see, we shouldn't be using cash because cash transmits AIDS and COOF on it, right? So we need to go to elect pure e-cash or central bank digital currency, which is basically the Federal Reserve rip-off copy version of what Bitcoin is, right? So they want everybody to, oh, no, don't pay attention to Bitcoin. Come over here to FedCoin. But nobody really cared about this. However, they're back. They're back. And notice, this is what they do. The strategy is anytime that things are unpopular when they float it, you just get quiet about it. Wait until there's a new problem related to the thing, and then introduce that thing again as the solution. And crises are always great to move the Overton window for something that was previously unacceptable. So if the population is presently not interested in a CBDC or not interested in eating bugs or getting rid of steaks and cattle, wait for a little while, let there be a few crises, maybe even an engineered crisis, and then reintroduce, maybe even repackage the solution, which was your plan all along. It's that simple. Incrementalism and then radicalism based on a present staged or managed crisis to get to where you wanted to go the whole time. And there's even a Tavistock term for this, right? And it relates to trauma and psychology and all that. But you can go listen to that when we cover the Tavistock history. Because they actually studied how to do this and bring this stuff in based on various forms of either incrementalism or based on sort of radical scenarios or crises. So now, wait a minute. Maybe there's another crisis coming. That's what I want to ask you guys. What do you think the 2024 big crisis will be? Now, we've got a few contenders. And that's why we pay attention to the propaganda, the movies, the fiction, as well as the so-called elites, what they talk about, because they usually give hints and they give indicators as to what they want to push next. So now, the governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Federal Reserve of Australia, oh, you like that fiat currency, mate? Got a lot of fiat for you. Got a lot of fake money for you. Hey, stranger, need a little bit of fiat currency? Got some nice deals.
On the true cost of processing cash for businesses, and therefore not represented as a fee-free option for customers, while always charging customers when they use their credit card when, there's no other option really.
Yeah. So look, it is a good question, and the issue with cash has always been that businesses don't really understand, I think, the costs of cash in their business. They are at the moment, I think understanding it a bit more, but in the past they haven't really. They've called shrinkage as their main cost, which basically means theft. But really they haven't really internalised, if you like, the costs of processing. I think the challenge with cash is that it really does have a big community, public service sort of aura attached to it. If you try to charge people to use cash, they're prepared to pay to get it out of an ATM, but if
Right, so somebody said I look like her. No, she's trying to look like me, right? I'm the E-Diva, celebrity internet E-Diva. She is the try-hard pick me. I'm the diva. So you got it backwards. She's trying to look like me. Now, why are we playing this? Because they're going to come back with all the same things they tried to push, okay? So we either get in 2024, and we might get a combination of these, right? We got some options. So one option is the cyber attack, cyber polygon, right? Remember, everybody's kind of sleeping on Cyber Polygon. We've been talking about, oh, it's a war with Russia, war, Middle East war. But if you notice, last time everybody was sleeping on a scam, right? The Koofdemic. So what are we sleeping on right now? Well, everybody's sleeping on CBDCs, economic collapse, and Cyber Polygon. Now we might get some sort of new Koof 2.0 or whatever, right? That's another possibility as well, right? And we might get a combination of things. Or what if what if they threw down all the cards? And again, it's election year coming up. That's very key. And I think Lord Voldemort is right when he says it's very likely that there could be some sort of, the grid's down and it was the MAGA people. The MAGAs hacked. As if the MAGAs could hack the power station, right? But the same people that believe that MAGA goobers and boomers would hack the power station are the same people that believe that climate refugees are coming here because it's too hot. Hey, bro, gotta come to America. It's dang hot down here, bro. It's too hot. I'm a climate refugee. Sure. There's always the EMP. I don't think they need an EMP. But again, remember, and this is why I'm playing the CBDC video. If the grid goes down, or if the economy collapses, or what, look, they're not going to destroy all of the infrastructure for the tech control that they've been setting up. So the internet will come back. The electricity is coming. They didn't erect all of this with freaking Skynet to shut down the electricity forever. And letting loose an EMP is, if it's as disastrous as supposedly they think it would be. I mean, have we ever seen this? Right? It's like a neutron bomb. Has this actually ever been done? We don't know, as far as we know, right? They didn't set up a technocratic prison to destroy the prison. Okay? That makes no sense. So it would have to be something that doesn't allow for an election. And that's not because I think Trump's perfect. But it does seem like they do try really hard to make sure that these absolute, puppet people stay in, right? I mean, you just look at the Integrity Initiative leaks to see that they generally don't want another kind of Trump scenario, right? And Trump has serious flaws. But for whatever reason, the integrity leaks show they don't want another Trump administration, and they're prepared to do whatever it takes. I mean, look how crazy the 4 years of JoJo has been. I mean, it's been crazy. It's been buck wild. And another 4 years of something like that, I mean, they would probably could literally destroy the country, right? And if JoJo is like 20 to 30% behind Trump, whatever crazy numbers it is, I mean, short of if they succeed in making sure that he's not on ballots or something like that, right? There's no way you can't steal that. It's too crazy. So it's got to get even crazier, right? You got to have you got to have freaking movie Mad Max level stuff coming. I don't know. I don't know what's coming. I'm just theorizing. So I think what's more likely is a kind of cyber polygon attack type of thing. Maybe that combined with another type of Koof thing, right? Two of those, that together would be interesting. You know what I mean? So what's your solution? Well, look, maybe between now and then it's time to get out of big cities, get out of blue cities, right? Just head to the hills, bro. How about that?
If businesses started charging people to use cash, I suspect there would be a very big backlash. Having said that, it's also true that as economists, you want people to face the prices of using particular services that reflect the cost of those services. So at the moment, I think we're probably in a position where It's very difficult to actually enforce payment for cash, but it's going to end up, what's going to happen, and what does happen at the moment, is that the costs end up embedded in the costs of the financial institutions that are providing the services, and people don't face them. I think it'd be a very big challenge, though, to get people to face the costs of cash.
We need to start reflecting on...
So it's a challenge. They need something that will convince people to get rid of cash. And I think that was part of COOF, right? Part of COOF was, you remember in the midst of COOF, they were like, oh, cash is what's... The cash, the dollar bills are dirty. They've got COOF on them. And people actually believe that, right? So maybe if there was a economic collapse, they say, hey, sign on and get this government wallet. We got a government crypto wallet, and we're going to immediately give you, $3,000 of Fed coin in your government wallet, right? I mean, I could see something like that happening. That seems like a plausible scenario. Like maybe they'll allow, I think crypto is going to explode in the next 6 months to a year. So we're going to see wild things happening. You're going to see Bitcoin going crazy. My guess is 100 to 200K Bitcoin next year. Of course, there'll be pullbacks. But if crypto explodes, that would allow a lot more familiarity with crypto. If then there was some scenario where they tried to bait everybody with Fedcoin, right, and CBDC. So maybe they're allowing crypto to explode for the purpose of luring people into a CBDC. That's a possibility. But that doesn't mean I think that crypto itself is bad. In other words, Bitcoin is not bad, right? Bitcoin is good. And some people are speculating that maybe that's why BlackRock's interested in Bitcoin, is to try to control it. I don't think it can be necessarily controlled by one entity, even if they buy as much as they want. But I agree with Camus' retweet of Carl Jung here. The entire population is being put through a rapid series of behaviorist programming techniques designed to produce a human being who's willing to go along with anything. That really summarizes all of what we're trying to explain here. And it's not accidental. It's not all idiots everywhere. It's being done intentionally by a very small group of technocrats. So let's see what the head of BlackRock says, because this is very relevant for what's coming with the crypto stuff. And there's complexity in this. It's not all an either or. So a lot of very wealthy people are realizing that when the Fed prints all the money and devalues the currency 10-20% since COOF a year, that affects very wealthy people as well. And wealthy people are concerned with, how do I store my money without it losing its value and purchasing power? And it's not just a matter of buying, land and yachts. And that's partly why, as the boomer tier people figure out what Bitcoin is, they realize, oh, actually, this is one thing that it is a store of value and a hedge against inflation and destruction of the currency, because all fiat currencies go to zero eventually. So that's partly why BlackRock is interested. Other people are saying, well, they would like also to buy so much that they can control it or influence or whatever. But I don't think the motives would be there. If you've bought like Michael Saylor levels of Bitcoin, first of all, it's too much Bitcoin to even dump on the market. Like, how are you going to, you can't dump all of that at once, right? Whales can dump, but there's not even an incentive to dump. It doesn't make any sense, right? It's basically like the most valuable thing on earth from a monetary perspective. It would make no sense to dump it just to destroy it. Although I suppose it is possible that they might try to do that. So perhaps BlackRock is an attempt to go after Bitcoin. But not all of these boomers are as smart as you guys think, right? A lot of people give way too much credence to sort of the, controlling elite as if they know and understand everything, and they're basically godlike. They also buy into their delusions, so keep that in mind. So let's see what he says here. It says that CEO BlackRock spent time with the leaders of different countries, and you don't hear them talking about globalization anymore. Let's see, what are they talking about?
Leaders of different countries and our political leaders here. You don't
By the way,
use the word globalization anymore.
it's turned up all the way. I can't make him any louder. It's a low clip.
You're considered a bad human being today. And we are now refocusing on issues around national security, whether it's national security for food, chips, national security for energy, national security. 3-4 years ago, you never heard those issues uttered. And all of that leads to is a reimagination of supply chains, and I'm saying that in a positive way, a reimagine of supply chains, which really means more fragmentation. Let's be clear, the reason why we had these global supply chains is because for 30 years we believed that we could provide cheaper products to more people. That's the ultimate way of providing the most progressive way of leading an economy, by people kind of have more at a cheaper price. That is no longer the notion. The notion is more about security and other issues. And I'm not making an editorialization. This may be the right policy. I'm not an expert in terms of issues that are related to security, and that so many people in government know a lot more than I do. But I ask everybody when we are doing this, when we're thinking about supply chains reimagination, I ask the question: have you factored in at what cost? What is it? What is the cost? And I don't believe that has been ever a component of thought anymore.
Reimagining the security around supply chains. Interesting. I wonder where this is going.
We're building new chip factories in the United States. At what cost? I'm just taking a quote out of the founder of one of the companies that is building a factory here, and they already made a notion that the chips are going to be a lot more expensive here being manufactured than they would have been elsewhere. And so we are doing this, and I'm not trying to suggest this is a bad outcome, but we should just understand that outcome will lead to more elevated prices for longer, which will then lead to a Federal Reserve whose policy missions, the mission is about bringing and arresting inflation. And so you have this countervailing issue. You have government, for government reasons, trying to reorient how we navigate our economies. And this is not just true in the United States. And all of this is not the type of government policies that we saw for 20, 30 years. And so all of this is just going to be with us for longer. And in that respect, it means we are going to probably have elevated inflation, and we're going to have the cost of higher interest rates for longer. That is going to ripple through the economy.
So the concern is no longer the traditional idea of markets providing people with cheaper prices. The concern now is security. So everything is now some national security issue, right? And so, again, kind of ominous there. Not exactly sure what he was after there with that, but my guess would be that talking about supply chains and security, let's see what's Klaus saying over here with Sergey. Let's see what they're talking about.
Not only interesting, it's a crucial issue. We are looking at technology very often threatening our present thinking, interpretation of how the world evolves. And actually, we need new, you use the word meaning, we need new concepts to define what humanity is and what the purpose of our lives is. And we may go much more again into the direction of, people are afraid of robotization, but it may be humanization, which robotization will allow. Would you?
Interesting. So here Klaus is with Sergey Brin of Google to discuss the real threats to the future and the fact that it's not robotization that we should fear, but rather maybe the bots will make life better, trying to sell us on the idea that humans need to be more bodified. That's actually a whole podcast I had years ago with Catherine Austin Fitts. And this was her whole point, was that the mechanization of everything was actually to make us believe that robots are more human-like as humans are made more and more robot-like. And that's, of course, eventually for the purpose of the singularity sort of merger hybrid thing that they want, right? But here Klaus is pushing the idea that no, everything being automated and AI basically taking over is going to be great. It's going to be a good thing.
This is a very optimistic, let's say, perception, which personally I share. But would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think if you were to go back in time 10,000 years and you meet somebody out there, work in their field, you would say, and they said, well, where are you from? They probably wouldn't even ask you, what do you do? That wouldn't be a meaningful question. But if you were to say, well, I'm an economist, they'll be like,
what is it?
Plow my field, and then, we can talk more about, whatever it is that you mean you do. I think it is exactly true. I think that if some of the burdens of day-to-day life that have been increasingly alleviated through technology, through agriculture, and so forth, maybe that leaves us free to really think a little bit more deeply about who it is we are and what it is we seek.
This is the old Marxist line, right? Oh, if we just let technology run everything, we'll be free to be humans. That's literally what Marx and Engels said, like 100 plus years ago. So, but of course, that's not the purpose of technology from their vantage point for everyone. The purpose of technology for everyone from their vantage point is to enslave and depopulate. The purpose of technology for them is to free them up. But the rest of us are a climate change problem causing, right, holes in the ozone layer because of our toots. So that's what this means. That's the way to translate this. So seems like the general vibes I'm getting here is we need a CBDC. We need tech running everything. Maybe supply chain problems will be an issue. That could be cyber polygon. That could be war. That could be a lot of different things that could cause that, right? Power outages, right? Any of that. So that seems to be potential things that could happen. And then the answer will be some form of their solutions, right? Oh, we need you on this Fed coin crypto CBDC. Oh, we need everybody to now, sign into the internet with some sort of like identifier keys, right? Because when we don't have that, bad actors and the terrorists get on the internet and they cyber attack and shut the power lines down, right? As if all of the power grid in America is all directly on the internet and you just hack into it and shut it down. I mean, but people would actually believe that, right? I mean, it's totally stupid. It's not on you don't just go into the grid through the internet to shut it down, because all the dumb boomers will believe that, right? They'll think that's how it happened. And the hackers hacked into the power grid and turned it off. So I guess we need a CBDC on my phone, right? They'll believe that. And they'll say Iran and the Russians did it. Oh, it was Iran and Putin. Putin hacked into there with Trump, got into the power grid, and he turned it off. And now I'm gonna freeze in the winter in Kentucky. They'll believe it. So the solutions will be AI, and I'm saying AI because this is a little bit of a controversy that pops up today. So everybody's talking about this T-Mobile thing. So I'm going to go to that next. So I did a little digging on this because I was trying to figure this out, right? So Laura Loomer posted this about, and everybody on the internet's talking about this now. What about the terms of service of T-Mobile? And this is basically saying that there are these fines that they will have for different tiers And everybody freaked out as if it was talking about every single individual consumer, right, on the T-Mobile network. It's not saying that. It is. Now, there's two things going on here. So people theorizing about it didn't do any digging as usual. But they're basically still right? So everybody on like Reddit was trying to call her out over this. A lot of people on the internet were trying to call her out, say she's dumb. She's not dumb. Actually, the central point here is correct. Although it's not directed immediately at consumers at this point, it opens the window for that. That's the point. So basically, they're saying that there's this new policy called Shaft, and I'm going to show you what that is. And this is how they do this stuff. This is how this is always done. They have these private boards that are a bunch of corporate elites. They make these policy decisions that they try to get all the other corporations signed on to. And so and this is some woman from the Obama administration who goes into corporate stuff. So that's how it works. It's like revolving door. Then they say, this is for third-party things, applications or bandwidth networks or whatever, Vonage, that send out text messages. So there's a legitimate problem. Spammers. Everybody who has cell service in America has to deal with these stupid robocallers, spam texting. It's so annoying, right? Everybody gets this. But sometimes it's done through third-party entities. And so T-Mobile is saying that we will go after them on the basis of Shaft, which stands for spam, hate speech. I'll show you what it is in a minute, right? It's an acronym for all this stuff, right? But here's the thing. Even though it's not directly about the consumers, it's one step from saying, yes, we can shut down stuff for consumers, perhaps even try to have a fine if we find that it violates Shaft. But again, this is just a corporate made-up thing. So what is Shaft? Shaft is part of CTIA. CTIA represents wireless communications industry. It is a bunch of people from the top like cell phone companies, right? And they have this voice, right? And it's this woman from like previous Obama administration, Meredith Atwell Baker, and she helps to provide guidelines. This is what they do. They put forth guidelines, and I'm going to show you what else they're involved in. Oh, they're fighting climate change, of course. And so 5G will help fight climate change. Give me a freaking break. Right? It's ridiculous. But regardless, here's all these corporate suit people involved in CTIA with a bunch of other corporate suit people here to help us. And so they've drawn up a monitoring program. Thank you, corporate people. Thank you, corporate Viper suit people. And what is the monitoring program I'm going to show you? It's called Shaft. And this is what they hand out to the other corporations. Not all of them are signed on to this, right? And they're talking about at the text messaging level, watching and reading the text messages, supposedly to combat spammers. Now, there is a real spam problem, right, with scammers and all this stuff. But what happens is that the problems that are allowed to fester become the excuses for the tyranny, you see. It's always this way. Crisis leads to their solution. And a lot of times they allow the crises. So the monitoring code words, SHAFT stands for SEX, hate, alcohol, firearms, tobacco. Right? Like as if these are like, well, ooh, alcohol. Whoa. Tobacco. Whoa. Yes, we got to protect the teens from alcohol and tobacco. Right. Yeah, as they like totally weaponize human sexuality, trying to destroy people's lives, but they're concerned to make sure teens don't get a hold of vapes and beers. Yep. Really important stuff. So that's what SHAFT stands for. But have you noticed the one that they snuck in here? So in other words, oh, we don't want prawn going out, which makes sense. Some of it's reasonable. Oh yeah, we don't want teens getting a hold of bazookas. Oh, but then there's hate. Wait a minute. What is hate? Now, in this guidebook, do you think there's ever a definition of hate? Of course not. No, it's never defined what that is. Of course not. And it's not going to be defined. So here's a dude, and he put this up on his TikTok, where he called in to to T-Mobile, and he asked them, well, how are they deciding? Because he has a business. This guy claims he has a business. He calls T-Mobile and asks and talks to the service rep people saying, well, who decides what the hate is? And it's AI. Of course. So it's automatically flagged via AI what the hate is. If you want the... Here, I'll give you my tweet. You can go watch this. I'm not going to play... His video is like 5 minutes of him talking to the tech... to the sales associate person. There you go. So again, notice that... Here's my analysis. My theory is... this is my theory. I can't prove this. My theory is that they are allowing a lot of these real problems to occur, letting it go for many years, because we've been having these robocalls and these spam text crap for years, right? On all the mobile carrier lines. And then they're going to say, yes, it's time to put our foot down and combat this. And we're going to combat it through automated AI policing to shut down SMS messages that violate Shaft, which is not a law. It's a corporate policy. Everything that we saw in the last few years via COOF, right? Corporate policy. So outside of law, but it's for anyone using the Fortune 100 networks, products, etc. You see. Same issue that we just saw with the last several years of the collusion between the Twitter file stuff. That's the same stuff, right? Same idea. And that justification was, oh, but you see, we had a big crisis because Russia used hackers to get Trump elected. So we have to shut down and monitor and destroy everybody's speech on social media, which was all not true. It all fell apart. It's all a lie. I just said what Shaft is. I just explained it to you. It's the corporate board commission decision that SHAFT, sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, tobacco. It's an acronym. Here, you can go read it right here. So it's a corporatocracy rule outside of law. And the point, though, is that it shows, as Lord Voldemort and Laura Loomer had pointed out a long time ago, this means that, of course, they read your individual text messages. Sure. How else would they know to flag it if they don't read it? How else does the AI flag it if it's not read? Of course it's read. Oh, but you see, it's for a good reason, though. It's to shut down teens getting, text messages about vapes? It doesn't even make any sense. Who's texting teens, tobacco? Hey, kid, want to buy a pack of Camel cigs? Here, meet me at the corner of Winston and Wilbur. I'll sell you, it's people texting teenagers. It doesn't even make any sense, right? But this is in a window into the trick. So the debunkers are over here underneath Laura Loomer's thing, and they put a community notes up. And the community note says, this is referring to a third-party company bandwidth and not consumers. But that misses the whole point that, first of all, does a third party care about a $500 violation? Does Vonage care about a $500 violation? No. Unless it's a $500 fine per violation, maybe at that point they would care. Right? But the point still stands, though, that, as I said, wouldn't the same TOS eventually be applied to the average consumer? And doesn't this open the door to that? And you say, they would never do that. Does everybody remember the very unpopular PayPal attempt from last year? So my view is that, my theory is that, my thesis, my analysis, Jay's analysis, they're including hate as a category to deal with legitimate spam problems that all cellular users deal with. But that's setting the precedent, opening the door. Is a small step away from saying that the consumers, when they send personal text messages that violate hate, and nobody knows what that is, now you're also involved in hate as social engineering. By the way, the document talks about using social engineering. What? You see, it says this, right? Tier number 1 is phishing. Social engineering refers to the practice of targeting individuals to manipulate them. So if they decide you're using social engineering, which is what they do, right, at a mass scale, but if they determine that you're doing it, they want to start imposing these fines. But it's not for consumers. This opens the door for it. That's what I'm saying. That's the point. That's Laura Loomer's point. So I think she's correct here. Even though it's supposedly only about third party, it's a step towards, I mean, do you really think they're only going to try to have this? It's basically a version of social credit score. Oh, it's just for third party companies who will get a $500 fine. Really? That's all it's for. You believe that? And I was watching all the debunkers, and that's really what they believe. It's like, and you look at the debunker profile, every debunker has the same psychological makeup. Like furry, Reddit, right? Purple hair. They're always the same. So, and you know that if it's one of the big corps, eventually all the others will follow suit, right? And that's what Alex has been talking about for years, hasn't he? Anyway, so that was my take on this big hot topic all over the internet today. Tipful Hat Girl says, I had a similar cough when I came back from abroad. Take Xlear or Zlear. It will help. This is a great stream. Blessings to you and Jamie. Thank you, Tipful Hat Girl. Tom, $10. You had a great takedown of Fiducia Supplicans and the Pope Splainers. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Yeah, the live stream that we did critiquing all the normie pop apologists, I thought came out pretty good. Bugs, $20. Uncle Klaus has a snack for you. Craigasm. Evagenia, $10. Thank you. Thank you, Evagenia. Matt Vailnatya, $5. Was there a cultural collab between the Soviets and the U.S. in the 50s? The only collab that I'm aware of during the Cold War was the so-called space program collab. For whatever reason, there was a NASA-Soviet collaboration program. There could have been a cultural collab. I don't know. That's a good question. In Soviet theaters, there were these alien-themed movies that were very common. Mosfilm and whatnot, Eastern Bloc analog to Hollywood, promoted these. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I have seen some of these, like, Cold War era Soviet alien push things. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know why. I mean, unless just at the top, the Soviets were run by the same people pushing the same stuff. I mean, that makes sense. But as for the specifics, I don't know. That's a great question. You'd have to find a specialist or something who knows about it. Mark Hackard would probably know about that. Cataclysm, $5. What are some tips on how to seduce a xenomorph? Well, I think it's very easy to seduce a xenomorph. You really just need to be a human being. And so just being a mere human meat sack is enough to attract the xenomorph to you. And you will get that intimacy. You just not going to last very long, because he's going to pretty much just have his way with you and you're gone. So does that help? I think that should help, right? By the way, we got some more super chats here. If you haven't followed me over here on X, please do. You can follow me right there in the chat. I'm almost to 60K. Thank you to Lord Voldemort for sending several hundred people my way today from sharing the meme that the debunkers were having fun with, trying to debunk. Dr. Chillin, $10. Jay, this is off topic, but what's the Orthodox understanding of Jesus growing in wisdom? Jesus' human nature, because it had knowledge proper to humanity, right? He did increase in human knowledge, because human knowledge moves from, right, point to point to point to point. Now, his divine mind did not increase in knowledge because he was omniscient. So it's a statement about his human nature and its progress. It's not a statement about his divine mind. The divine mind can't grow or learn new facts. I have a Tinder date coming up. Can I get a blessing? Go to your local Nova Sordo parish and take your grinder date, and I'm sure you could get a blessing. Goofy Goober, $5. I'm a goofy goober. You're a goofy goober. Do you plan on talking again with Sam Hyde? Well, he texted me yesterday about something about Fish Tank. He spoke highly of you in the last live streams. Yeah, I'm eager to do something. So hopefully when he's ready to do something, I'm ready. Harry Serpanos, $5. Jay, thank you for talking about these demons, exposing them, including the Pope, on your live streams. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate that. Argus, $10. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Of course, Christmas hasn't happened yet. Christmas is in like a week, because you're all celebrating fake papal schismatic Christmas. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But Orthodox Christmas is first week of January. Ya boy, $15. Can you expand on what you mean by aliens and UFOs are demonic? Well, a large component of it is psyops and lies and deception. But I do think that, like Tucker was talking about, there are entities, spiritual beings on this planet who influence human beings to do evil things, try to get them to do evil things, and they're called demons. So that's what I mean. Do you think they're the physical embodiment of scorpion men from Revelation 9:10? I don't believe there's scorpion men. I just think that there's demonic entities that inhabit the spiritual realm that try to influence human beings to do evil. Frank the Tank, $1. It's always in these videos, blurry military footage. Military footage, blurry AF. Exactly. I will believe that something might happen when I get a 4K sniper scope cam footage of a Delta Force guy pop in a 300 mag Pleiadian in his butthole at 400 yards. Exactly. That's what I want to see as well. Also because it sounds pretty hot. Just kidding. That's fake and gray. Fake and graylians. $85. Community is the most important physical thing that we can invest in if there's something bad coming in 2024. Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Like, get your ass to Mars. That was his comment. So, I mean, you could try to get your ass to Mars with Elon on one of his ships. You go take a Tesla to Mars, or just go to the countryside. Probably your best bet. Right? Little Baloo, $5. Just because, and thank you for what you do. Well, thank you, Little Baloo. Much appreciated for that $5. Guys, remember to hit like and share. Also, head on over to our friends on Rockfin. There's Richard Grove. There's Sam Tripoli. There's Eddie Bravo. There's Isaac Weishaupt. There's Whitney Webb. There's a lot of good people giving high-level breakdowns, as well as myself, on Rockfin. And you can follow me right here. And remember, tomorrow night, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. Tristan and I have been killing it. Our shows have been the bomb. I'm sure you've noticed. And tomorrow night we will be covering the feminist movies, Stepford Wives and Stepford Wives Remake, and their like crazy level feminist stuff. However, there's some interesting elements that we want to analyze, and that will be tomorrow night. There's that right there. I think you will appreciate Tristana and I's breakdown.